Hello there, how are you? Hope you're keeping well. This is ArtCat live again, back for third lockdown? Don't know where we are on all the lockdowns so far. Hope you can hear me okay. Give me a wave when you come into the room, say hello. Alex, you're in already. Desiree, good to see you. Yeah, nobody could see anything until I switched on the cameras. I was just uploading it onto Facebook and letting everybody know I was live. So yeah, 2021. Didn't think we'd be quite in the position we're all in at the minute, especially here in the UK. The lockdowns are quite severe, so it's good to be back. I wish we were back on better circumstances. Michael, how are you? Hope you're doing well. He's warming up. Yeah, I am. And the computer was, and the cameras and everything else. It's getting back into the routine of things as well. I'm going to continue this every Saturday, 2 o'clock. I'm just going to continue on it from now on. I've had my little holiday break for Christmas, and it was quite well needed, and I think well deserved break as well. I have loved doing these, and I say I'm just going to continue doing them. Just to give you a little brief run about what we're doing. Show's kind of slow today. Oh right, well I'll hopefully speed it up for you. As you can see on the screen, I've got some drawings that I was kind of doodling in my sketchbook over Christmas. I got a lovely book from my partner Andrea. That's okay, Will. It's not your cup of tea. Tell me what it is. What is your cup of tea? What type of thing do you like? Often the work that I'm doing can cross over into the art genres that you may be drawing. If it's something that you want me to cover, let me know. You can all see me now. Great. Well, happy Christmas, and hope you had a good New Year too, Desiree. Andrea got me a book over Christmas. It was a John Singer Sargent book, Portraits in Oils. Now, he's obviously a prolific painter. He later went on to do landscapes as well. He got a bit bored with portraits. But the drawings were quite interesting. Obviously, this is my background. This is a drawing or a talking show. It is both. Well, this is me having a chat as I draw. I'm going to go on to the things that we're doing later. I'm going to be doing a self-portrait for a competition called Portrait Artist of the Year, and it's an art competition based in the UK for Sky Television. Every year I've been doing a portrait. I got on it a couple of years ago, and I'm going to be doing my entry for it because the entries close I think on the 29th of January, so we've got a few more days left. Okay, well, bye. Thanks for coming anyway. So as you can see, the portraits that I have up on screen are of various ladies that Sargent had drawn, but I was kind of looking through the sketchbook and I was looking at the qualities of his drawing and the simplicity of it. Angela, hello, good to see you. I saw your picture on Instagram. I don't know if anybody's on Instagram, but go and check out Angela and her work. You're working on an art school program, and you've done a beautiful rendering of a sphere. I think he'd painted it, of how light hit the sphere. Everybody's a critic, well, never mind. If you can tell me what sucked about it, that'd be great, but just tell me it sucks doesn't help. You did a brilliant sphere, but how to capture light, and it seems incredibly like a simple process to do a circle and just lighten it from the side. But there's such subtlety in that. It's an exercise I think is quite a challenge, and something that I would suggest you all try. Get a ping pong ball, light it with one light from one side, put it on a dark background so you can obviously see the contrast of a white sphere. Oh, it's me. Alright, well, thanks for dropping by. I can't change me, unfortunately, so I hope you find something that suits you. Get to drawing already. Who will do? The process of drawing the sphere it can seem a bit boring and dull, but there's an awful lot of observation and technical ability that comes with that process, and a lot of artists I know who are very world renowned continue to do that process and do that challenge on a regular basis, because it keeps their eye in about how they want to capture light and form. Desiree, hope you do well in the competition. Yep, well, remember the more way out the better. This one, well, you'll see, I'm going to go on to it today. We'll get like, oh, listen, it's alright, everybody's different, and well, as I say, if it's not your cup of tea, you don't have to watch. You're quite welcome to sort of search out the rest of the internet world and find something that suits you. Don't waste your time looking at this. But the portraits I was looking at in the sketchbook are often well lit, and it's similar things. This sphere, he orchestrates and curates his portraiture. The way he did it, where he had his apartment set up, I think he did them both in New York and over in England. He would often have this one lit light source coming in from, say, a window. He'd have them sat in a chair, and he'd do a thing called sight sizing, where he would have his sitter and his easel sat side by side, and often these portraits were done in a few hours. And it kind of reminded me of this whole thing, because the competition, when you get on the show, the portraits are done within 4 hours. And how much information he managed to capture, but how much information when he was putting it down in the portrait, he gave a suggestion of. It was more of an impressionistic style, but it was beautifully recorded accurately. Now, when I say accurately, I'm not talking about a fine, detailed information that he was capturing down. It was a suggestion, but it was beautifully placed. And often when he was working, he would look and consider first before putting the mark down. So I had a go at doing these in my sketchbook, and when you're copying marks of another artist, you're often spending more time really studying the mark rather than him just quickly gesturally putting the mark down. So it kind of slows you down into the observation of it. It's a great challenge, and I suggest it for yourselves as well. Find a piece of artwork that you like and try and record that information down. It gets you to study the type of artwork that you really like and how to capture some of the qualities of it. And this is something I would like to try for my portraiture. Not that I want to emulate Sargent completely, but there's a great filtering process going on, where he's not trying to render everything perfectly. There's marks that he's left on the page which kind of animate the picture and make it more vibrant. You can definitely see the characters of these people. Often it's their clothing that they're wearing suggests more of their portraiture as well. The style of their clothing, the style of their hair, and what was great about the book, it gave you a little bit of insight, because it contacted the people who had the portraits of the people, and often these were left within the family, and they would have written little notes down, because often these people were Sargent's friends or acquaintances as well, and they would regale the stories as well, and you get little insights into the process of sitting with an artist who is drawing you. Some of them were happy with the portraits and some of them weren't happy with the portraits, so it was quite interesting to see that side of it. And then it kind of gives you an insight as to the person sitting and how Sargent viewed them. Some of the people he got on with, some of them he kind of found frustrating as portrait to draw, because they were really chatty and animated, and it was very hard for him to capture it down. Some of them were very show-offy, which he didn't like. But often a lot of the people had a great story behind them. As I say, I'll click on to the portrait that I'm going to work on, which is this one. Well, what I'll do is I'll click these ones out so we don't get to see them anymore, because you don't need to have a look at all these all the way through. As you can see, I've got my drawing camera. It's frozen. That's a perfect start. Well, maybe you've jinxed me. Click that one off. See, getting back into doing live broadcasts again is a little bit difficult. I'm going to pop up the image of me and make that available. So this image I have up on screen at the moment is a self-portrait, obviously. This is a photograph that was taken by a good friend of mine. Am I really? Oh, I must have shrunk. 5'4". The image that we have here was done by a good friend called Marty, and he isn't. He would class himself as an amateur photographer, and went down one night and he had a competition to do with emotion. So posed around for different few things, and sometimes when you're trying to capture something else for somebody else, they have an idea in their head. And what was great about Marty was when I went to sit for him, he discussed it. It was for a thing called emotion, and rather than trying to act it out, I just kind of relax into the pose. Often if you try and perform something, it looks fake. And what I was interested in here was the body language that was going on, and the different textures that started to come out. So it was textures from both my wrinkly face and hair, etc. The veins on the back of the hand against the stripy hat. Because it's quite a dark image, I'm wearing a black top with black jeans against a black background. My hair's quite dark and I'm wearing a black top. All these layers of darkness, but you still see the full form of the figure, and I quite like the imagery with that. So this is the image that I decided to. Let me just bear with me for 1 second. Got a little problem with my computer at the minute. I know there's lots of information coming up from one of our people on the screen there, but all I will say is, if you're going to continue that way, I'm just going to block you again, and if you keep popping up with something else, I'll keep blocking you again. Really, seriously, it's not worth it. Alright, just don't bother. Because all I have to do is delete you, and it's really not worth it. So I can hide you, and you're gone. So what I'll say is, if there's anybody else wanting to join, you're more than welcome to join in the art chat. If it's going to start to be abusive, if it's going to start to be disruptive to what we're doing here, I'm just going to remove it. There's no, you're not upsetting me in any way. It's just becoming a pain for everybody else. So look, don't bother. It's a waste of time. I mean, seriously, get a life. Right, hopefully we're all now back on. I think Will has now gone. All your messages have been deleted, Will. Yeah, so get back to the self portrait. So when he sent me the image, I thought, this is great. I'd really love to try and capture this, and it is a bit of a challenge, as you say, Alex. It's quite a challenge as a portrait because of the varying differences in the darks, but there's a subtlety in the light. And it reminded me of looking at Sargent. His figures were much more well lit, but there was a subtlety I think I can try and find within that. Now, trying to find an image to work from, because I'm not working from the monitor screen in front of me, I printed one off, and when it printed out, it came off with a very, very dark black image. And I thought, this is way too dark. I've lost all the information of the arm and the hand and the hair, etc. on the body. So, draw mode, hello, how are you doing? I thought, oh, I can't work from that image. This is the problem that I'm going to face when I'm actually drawing it, because it's so much dark there that it looks a very, very dark image. So when I put it up onto my iPad, the light from the image is still there. So that's what I'm going to work from. I'm going to work from my iPad. So you can, I'll have my image to the right of me and obviously the drawing page in front of me. Bill self-portrait, yeah. And Marty, if you're watching, thank you very much for it. I did ask him and we did talk about it, and he was quite happy for me to do this, because there was a very collaborative approach to doing the photo shoot. So it's still kind of his great photograph and kind of my idea of sitting there with my hand in my hair, and he came up with the idea of clutching the hat. A difficult, time-consuming exercise, but good task to do. Yeah, I'm hoping to do this not as quickly as possible for the idea of speed, but because we were doing the Sky Portrait of Artist of the Year over 4 hours, I do want to try and keep that time limit down as much as possible. Thank you for the congrats and the subs. Yeah, guys, if you haven't subscribed already, please do. Or is that the photo? No. I think as you're right, Alex. Is like asking if it was the photo is so dark or the image on the computer screen is so dark. On the printout, it is very, very dark. But the one you can see on your screen is actually the photograph I want to work from, so there is a lot of dark there. There is a bit of light coming from a kind of left hand side, darkens the right hand side of my face. Yep, this is a photo. This is a photo I'm going to work from. But I think it had, what was lovely about it, it had such an essence of drawing in it. And that's how I think when I saw it, I went, oh, I'd love to draw this. This is going to work for the portrait. I've been thinking about lots of different poses for the self-portrait and things that you could try and say as a narrative. But I think there's more weighted in this as a narrative that allows a viewer to project their thoughts onto it, as well as my own thoughts about it as well. So that's the challenge when it comes to portraiture. You're both trying to keep a balance of your artistic intent, but a narrative intent as well, and how are you going to get that across? I wasn't going to try and overload it too much with too much going on in the background. I did think of a couple of other things that I would like to do to try and build a story around it all, but I decided I needed to keep it as simple as possible as well. Even though it's a complex image, I wanted to keep it as simple as possible in a narrative form. So that's where we're all starting from. Say I've started with my coffee, which I'll just have a quick slap of. Apparently to Will I was 5'4". Sometimes I wish I was, because the number of times I bang my head is unbelievable. I'm not that tall either. About 6 foot. It's really weird on, you know, when you put yourself out there on social media and YouTube and things like that, the level of interaction you get, and the more and more popular you become, the more and more people will jump in and have a go and say stupid stuff and things like that. What I'm going to say is to everybody else, if anybody does jump on and you start to get lots and lots of messages, look, don't worry about it. If they get abusive or if they get distracting, I'll just delete them. What I would say is don't interact with them, because it's their kind of game. You know, I don't know whether there's a thing that, I don't know, maybe there's a league table of being in a complete, I can't say the word, pain in the bum. And the more people you annoy, the higher you got the league table. Whatever it is, I haven't got a clue. It's really weird. I've just noticed on the screen as well, one of my cameras has decided to switch itself off again, so what I'm going to do is give it a bit of wiggle and hope, if I can give that a quick reset, hopefully it'll come back on. Switch it on and off again. It's like most things. I've actually switched my computer on and off twice this morning. That's why I was a little bit late getting started. Ask you guys, how have you been getting on? How's your Christmas been? Are you drawing, working away? Are you working on anything new? Let me know. Just while this camera warms up. Otherwise it's going to be a very difficult demonstration because the screen's frozen. Let's have a look. I'll take it off. what I think I'll do is this. I will do that and move it. Okay, right, I'll try and add a new one. A lot of you know that I work in a school as well, as an art technician, and since going back and lockdown, etc., there has been all the children were sent away, they're working from home, and the teachers are having to work online. And they're all working from home and working on Zoom classes and things like that with the kids, and it's really tough. It's not an easy thing to do, and often sort of for kids at home, their cameras break down or their internet connection goes down, or working in school, cameras freeze and things like that. So everybody's going through the same thing, especially when people are using the internet. It's a real frustration. Let's have a look, see if we can get this to work. This isn't working. So you finished 2 portraits, Desiree, of your nephew and your niece. Brilliant. And you loved them. No, that's really, really good, especially when you get some good feedback from it. You saw me using pan pastels, Alex, before Christmas, and got some brilliant. Bit of trying to keep the black marks without black marks. It's hard to get it not on your hands and over your face as well. Yes, you're right, Alex. It is a tough audience, especially when you're doing things of people you know. It's a very, very close thing, you know. You can, because you know them really well, you can tell by the look in their eyes whether they like it or not. So when you get somebody saying, I think this is amazing, well done, that's a really good indication that, you know, you are actually achieving the aims that you're going for. So again, keep going with it, you know. Hopefully when we're all back doing the live classes in front of real people over in the Ards Art Centre, let's see if we can unplug this. Bear with me 1 second. So, yeah, well, we're all back doing the live classes. Bring them along so we can have a look at them. I think it's really hard because you're not getting feedback on your work. I find that as well, even talking to colleagues and friends. We were kind of working in such isolation. It's really hard to get a gauge and get feedback on your work as to what your peers' critique is. And it's not about getting a critique as in that's good, that's bad, that's terrible, or, you know, it's more of a directed question. You know, what areas did you have problems with? What areas did you overcome? What pictorial what kind of feeling did you get from the portrait? You know, if you do it again, how would you improve it? Or, you know, lots of different things, and you can have a conversation with the peers who are of a similar standing as you, and it could be quite supportive in that way and help you push your work forward. Often when you ask for criticism about your work, especially in the early stages, you have to put it through your very tough filter. When you're asking for what people think, you've got to be able to hear it. And if people are just being rude, it doesn't matter. You know, that filter blocks it, and their criticisms don't mean anything. If people are picking up on something that you are aware of and you're trying to defend it because it's a frustration to you, you've got to let it through and sit there for a while for you to work through your art to improve upon those areas of development. and it may feel like, oh God, they can see that, you know, I don't know, the eyes are never right. Then what is it about not getting the eyes in the right place? Are you rushing it too quickly? It may be that people just don't like the genre of artwork that you do. That's fine, that's a taste thing. It's not necessarily criticism of you as an artist. They may love elements of it and pick those things out. You get constructive criticism where people will go, look, I love the way you've done the hair, but it doesn't look like it quite flows over the body shape that you've drawn, and that's something to pick up on. You've got great technique of drawing hair, but you've got to make sure that it, you know, adheres to the form of the figure that you're drawing as well. So it's, as I say, brilliant when you do portraits and you're getting great feedback. Use that as a positive spur to do the next portraits as well. Listen, if you're doing the portrait of your mum she's now, that is brilliant. Do it. And then go back and revisit the portrait of your mum when she was young, because often sort of a challenge or your drawing starts to improve, and there may be a drawing that you failed or didn't or wasn't successful as it was as you wanted it to be in the early days. When you go back to draw it again, you have that experience of all the areas that you've had problems with, but your artistic experience, your technical experience has improved so much that then that's not a problem and the portrait becomes successful. So don't be afraid to revisit things that were difficult before. I can't wait to see them. Alex, what was it you were drawing? I know you got some pan pastels there. I didn't quite see what you were working on as a picture. You said you had problems getting deep black with pan pastels without getting marks. What I found is if you use compressed charcoal, so you go over with the pan pastel and you kind of have to build it up in layers. Use compressed charcoal to flatten it all down, and then you have to use a light application for the pan pastels to make it really, really dense. If you start scrubbing the page too hard, that's when you're going to get those marks. It's almost like a building up powder layers, so you can, you know, fill it in quite quickly first and you might get lots of texture build up, but then it's literally kind of working over the whole surface. I find that putting pan pastel down, putting compressed charcoal over, and then putting pan pastel over the top of that lightly, and kind of like lightly pushing the pastel into the surface, really builds up that thick, heavy, dense layer. As you can see, I'm still having problems with this flipping camera. I'm not even sure how to get this to work properly. It's just not picking it up. This is going to make a very difficult drawing demonstration if I've got no camera for you to see me draw with. I think Will jinxed us. I'll try turning this camera on and off again for the third time. Believe it or not, I haven't changed the setup at all since before Christmas. Come back in, switch it all on, thinking it would work, and it didn't. So apologies for this. I saw something on the UK Portrait website of a woman which was quite striking, like black and white photos seemed a good idea at the time. We'll keep going with it. You know, often when you're inspired by an image, you know, break it down. You know, maybe don't try and stick all the heavy blacks on straight away. Certainly not the way I'm going to work on this portrait. It's literally finding the forms first and then lightly building up the darks, because often where you think something is really, really black, as you work through it you find out it's not, so the heavy application that you may have put on it would be too much anyway. If you can see, there's quite a lot of light, almost like a halo effect going around the arms and the legs. I'm not too sure whether I want that halo effect in my picture, so, you know, use pictures to your own ends. You don't become a slave to the photograph. Stand back, look at it and adjust it slightly. I'm going to adjust some of the things within the portrait that I create. I like some of the textures in the background, but so that a little bit of a halo effect around the arm, I want some of it to actually disappear into the background. So I get a little bit of in focus and out of focus feel to it. Use some sort of pencils too. If you're using charcoal pencils or pastel pencils, it will work really well with pan pastel. If you're using any graphite pencils, it doesn't work particularly well, just to give you a heads up on that. I'm going to click over to a different camera, that one. There we go. And hopefully whilst doing this, I will try and get this camera to work. See, I have green screen up, so there's lots of funky little things going on the right hand side. Apologies for this morning. If it was, if it worked without any problems, it'd be great, but hey, what can you do? Let's have a look. No. No, guys, what I'm thinking of doing is switching everything back off, switching everything back on again, popping back up in the video. If you can give me 5-10 minutes, check back up on the YouTube channel or up on Facebook channel, and hopefully we'll get this camera sorted out and up and running so we can get this portrait done. Alright, it's like this art cat, isn't it? So the first art cat of the year is when it doesn't work. Great start. But yeah, give me 5-10 minutes. I will end this now and hopefully be back online. If I'm not back online and you can't be bothered watching any more of this, maybe Will was right. 2 o'clock next Saturday, but I am going to try and come back this afternoon. Literally, I'm going to switch everything off, switch everything back on again. It'll probably take about 10-15 minutes. I think your wee cat has been at your camera. Yeah, she probably has eaten a cable or something.